Back on the Boulevard Monday, June 17th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. We are presented by the Believe Network tonight. Welcome into the season finale of Springball Boulevard. Oh boy, where to begin? We're back from St. Louis, flew out early this morning, back to Studio Z. Zook and I with a couple of nights in the Lou, taking it all in from Championship Media Day to the Fan Fest to the tailgating to meeting a ton of you guys out there on the road, whether you were Stallions faithful, Brahmas faithul, Battlehawks. We saw Defenders, really all the UFL fan bases represented. And then, of course, it came down to game time, which shockingly was the most unexpected thing I could have possibly predicted happen. So let's tell you the story of what happened in the 2024 UFL Championship game. It was the Stallions. They've done it pre-merge. Can they do it post-merge against the San Antonio Brahmas, who have knocked off Birmingham and St. Louis on their way here? Garber's on the first drive, going to pick up a 3rd and 2 with his legs. Now a 3rd and 4. First drive of the game. Chase finds Jontre Kirkland, gets walloped by Clark there, but he gets the first down. Brahma's moving the ball. Anthony McFarland on a 2nd and 8, creeping towards midfield. But wait, this derailed the drive. A holding penalty backs them up to a 3rd and 18 just when they were moving the ball. Now they go conservative, halfback draw on 3rd and 18, and they punt. Stallions first drive. Martinez, 3rd and 5. Brahma's defense has been so strong on that down. They stop them. 2 punts to open up the game. Another 3rd down for San Antonio. They run it again. Stuffed at the line of scrimmage. Bill Johnson's defensive line coming through against his old comrades. Another 3rd down stop for the Brahmas defense. First 4 drives, 4 punts. Nearing the end of the first quarter, we're still scoreless. Garber's in the shadows of his own end zone. Dumps to McFarland. Finally, they get a 3rd down conversion. Now on 1st down, Jontre Kirkland trying to find room along the far sideline. Ball's out. Fumble. And the Stallions force a turnover. They don't do anything with it, though. Brahmas get it back, and on a 2nd and 5, the longest play of the day thus far goes to Speedy Stevenson, 17-yard gain up that far sideline. We're still scoreless. 3rd and 7, near midfield. Chase Garber's got to do something. Incomplete across the middle. 5 drives, 5 punts to open the game for A.J. Smith and the Brahmas. And Tom Brady was saying, throw the damn ball downfield. Let it fly already. So Garber says, I'll try my best. Going to Jontre Kirkland. Ball is there, but he drops it. Look at this. Kirkland been so good all year. Could not hang on to this one. Just a bad game for Jontre. Now a 3rd and 8. 7 minutes to go in the half. Martinez looking. Finds Jay Sternberger. They move the sticks, but still not into plus territory. Birmingham having struggles. You were wondering, was Matt Corral going to come in? And Sternberger's helmet twisted and turned around his face. 2nd and 8. Martinez. Marlon Williams into plus territory. Fumble! They turn it over right back to the Brahmas. Watch Darius Phillips. Gets the mid in there last second and forces the fumble. We have not had a team cross midfield yet up to this point. Like 5 minutes to go in the half. Now Brahmas, 3rd and 2. Garbers. Alize Mack, stuffed. Ike Brown, who had 2 picks in the USFL Championship game last week, forces the punt. Now Martinez. Person. Ricky. Cross midfield. Rumbling. Bumbling. Stumbling, the big fella. Out of bounds on the near sideline. 45-yard run for the former NC State Wolfpack. Gets him in the red zone now on a 3rd and 2. Brahma showing blitz. Martinez says no problem. Gary Jennings, the former St. Louis Battlehawk. Fans love him, giving him the standing ovation. I think that was 30-1 on a first touchdown scorer prop. They go back to Amari Rogers for the 2-point conversion. And just like that, it's 8-0 Birmingham. Before the half, they deferred, so they get it to open the second half. It's Rogers on the end around. This is where Birmingham has been so good in the middle 8. Ricky Person lowering the shoulder. First down, Stallions. Brahma's defense having trouble here on their first drive. Clear second half adjustments offensively, and Martinez going to do what he did all year. Touchdown, Stallions. Adrian making his case for MVP, wants to share the stage with Tom Brady. They go up 14-0, 11 minutes to go third. They had a penalty to back them up to the 10-yard line, but Jordan Thomas, as he has done all year, says, "Give me that." How about that? 16-0 Stallions. Brahmas desperately need an answer. Garbers, Kirkland, they ran this play before, and you cannot believe it. On the first play of the second half, another fumble. Kenny Robinson going to hit the Pac-Man Jones celebration. It's 16-0 Stallions ball. Gary Jennings, what a game from him. Been silent all year. Made his presence felt in this one. CJ Marable now inside the 5-yard line. Look at this. Scary moment for Marable. All his weight coming down on his neck. Thank God he bounces out of that one. Now a 3rd and goal. T formation's out. Stuffed on the goal line. Decision time for Skip Holtz. 4th and goal. Do you take the points or you go for it again? Adrian Martinez, quarterback sneak. They punch it in again. 3 drives, 3 scores in a row for the Stallions in the middle 8. You blinked, and it was 22-0. They don't get the conversion on this one. Wade Phillips, I mean, you have not seen him that animated all season. And here's where things got worse. 3rd and 1, last-ditch effort. Garber's just going to slide short. Chaos on the sideline after this. They did try it on 4th and 1. You see Tizino just flying in. Actually, that was A.J. Thomas, and Garber's sliding short. And on the 4th and 1, just Damon Lloyd, man coverage against Alize Mack. What a stop from the Stallions defense. They were dominant all day. 49 yards out. Some insurance points from Chris Blewett made it 25-0. Brahmas were going to unleash Quentin Dormady, see if they could at least get some points on the board. On a 3rd and 10, he's going to find his former Orlando Guardian teammate, K.D. Cannon. At this point, a lot of new personnel on the field for the Brahmas offense, including Dormady, Cannon, and some others. Cade Warner got some reps on a 3rd and 7. It's Calvin Turner for a first down. Dormady doing everything he could, but that pass rush, just too much. Hate to see that in front of Tom Brady on national TV. And on a 4th and 19, he redeems himself by getting out of the pocket and throwing a nice ball to the end zone, but the errors just added up. K.D. Cannon's going to drop this one. Catchable ball to avoid the shutout and just bounces off his shoulder pads. And at that point, things got chippy. Bryce Thompson all day just, not in control of his emotions. He gets ejected. They threw Jace Sternberger out as well. You see Thompson trying to rip his helmet off, but that was not indicative of the Birmingham Stallions. This was Skip Holtz getting dunked for the 3rd straight time. He'll shake hands with Wade Phillips. Stallions cement themselves as a spring football dynasty. They've done it pre-merge. They do it post-merge. And that man sweeps the MVP categories with the league MVP and the championship game MVP. Birmingham pitches the first shutout of the 2024 UFL season in the biggest game of the year. Just unfathomable when you look at this scoreboard. Martinez did not have to light up the box score. He had just 98 passing yards, one of his lowest totals of the season. He added 52 on the ground, but he scored 3 touchdowns. Kavaya Tizino, this was the guy who may have deserved the MVP. 9 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery, leading that defense, who had one of the best performances I've seen at any level of football. Stallions go 3 for 3 in the red zone. And for San Antonio, they only cross midfield twice in 10 possessions. They give up 4 first downs to penalties. Anthony McFarland tried his best. Chase Garbers benched early on in the 4th quarter. Can you believe it? The Birmingham Stallions, 3-time spring football champs, 25-0 shutout win in the championship over the San Antonio Brahmas. Wow. This is going to send ripples through every level of spring football, and we're going to get into that. But Zook and I had a front row seat. TPG had a front row seat to everything that went on at the UFL championship from all areas. being up close and personal in these moments is something that we don't take for granted. And we always attempt to share with you all the behind the scenes content we can and try to get you the perspective that we get on game day. So the Battle of the Brands Tour has been an immense success. And for the last time this season, check out our experience in St. Louis.
I travel the country to witness football's newest rivalry, the XFL versus the USFL. And after 6 cities in 6 different games, we got the UFL championship today in St. Louis. In the XFL corner, the San Antonio Brahmas. In the USFL corner, the Birmingham Stallions. Welcome to the championship edition of the Battle of the Brands Tour. Let's go!
All right, down here in St. Louis, game day, UFL championship on tap. Made it to the Dome. Just about 2 hours till kick. Let's head in, check this place out, see what kind of pregame atmosphere we got going. Out in front of the Dome at America Center, this building opened up in 1995, and this will be the first time they've hosted a professional football championship game. Should be a treat. All right, made it up to the press box at the Dome. Best seat in the house, got a bird's eye view. Nice touch on the end zones, like the midfield logo. In just about 2 hours, this place will be rocking. All right, so made it into the U-Labs Tech Showcase here. Kinds of sweet stuff shown. They got the touchdown drone. Packed house in here in one of the suites showing off all the cool tech. They got the helmets out. San Antonio and Birmingham. These are the player cams that we've seen inside the helmets.
So the real green. Not in this setup, but yeah, if you were in the truck, you have to.
Joe Buck sighting in the Dome. All the stars out today. Chairwoman in the house. Love to see it.
AJ Smith. We found TPG. Halftime update here from the Dome. Birmingham leads it 8-0 after the first half. Birmingham's defense, this is the best half of football that they've played since John Chavis left back in week 7. 5 drives and 5 punts for the San Antonio Brahmas. For Birmingham offensively, Ricky Person Jr. with the biggest play of the day, 45-yard run to get the Stallions into plus territory. They cash it in with Gary Jennings, who fans love here in St. Louis as a former Battlehawk. But Skip Holtz is stuck with Adrian Martinez. That's the important thing here. We're going to see what happens in the second half.
All right, second half update here. Zook and I made it down to the field. Wow, we might see our first ever shutout in a championship game.
That's a wrap. 25-0.
Right, motherfucking hell! Right, motherfucking hell!
Horns down.
Let me see that again.
It's a great season, bad game. That's what it came down to.
That's when, for me, I have the opportunity to be the duck that floats on top of the water, and there's a whole lot of people that have feet that are paddling like hell underneath to make this thing go forward. Like I said, as somebody wrote an article earlier, I'm just a fired football coach. You know what I mean? Just trying to win a game.
I was telling some people, like, I don't know if that was a real moment or not. I mean, even Tom Brady himself, he looked like a freaking wax figure, you know? This guy is a real person, you kidding me?
It's just a great opportunity. Like I said, I mean, I was driving Amazon trucks, you know, from being nobody to somebody in a matter of a year.
Closing thoughts from the 2024 UFL season here in the confetti-soaked Dome at America Center. The Birmingham Stallions 25, San Antonio 0. So let me get this off my chest first. The XFL still won the season series 9-8. However, yes, I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again. I thought San Antonio's offense would sustain the success that they had against St. Louis. I thought their playmakers were going to be too much. So what an unbelievable job for Skip Holtz and Zach Potter, the GM, who constructed this team and got a bunch of players that were fringe NFL guys, brought them all together. They played their best, most complete game today here in the championship. They ran the ball, they stopped the run. Adrian Martinez scores 3 touchdowns and didn't hear any footsteps from Matt Corral, even after the first couple drives where San Antonio was forcing punts and we're thinking, is Matt Corral coming in? He did not. Adrian Martinez stayed in the game and hoisted the MVP trophy given out by Tom Brady. So just an incredible job from the Stallions. We talked about the middle 8. Last 4 minutes of half, first 4 minutes of the second half, that's where they dominate after we get back home to Studio Z. But for now, signing off as the Birmingham Stallions prove that they are the cream of the crop and they set the bar high for spring football. You always remember, there is no such thing as football season.
Wow. It's bittersweet, guys, and being two of the last people on the field last night. You know, Zook and I, we took a moment before we walked out of that tunnel and kind of looked around, and you know, that's always some of the most emotional times for us because, you know, we only get a couple months a year to do this, and you want to make sure you don't take any of that stuff for granted because spring football is so volatile and anything could happen at any moment with TV deals and with players and contract negotiations and really executives and ownership, you know, that maybe don't see eye to eye, and you just don't know if you're ever going to have that next game. Now, we have full faith in spring football. It's going to be back next year, but you know, when you're at these games as a fan, and just take it all in because, you know, this is something we want to make work long term, and it hasn't before. So, you know, with season 2 down and season 3 coming up, don't take any of it for granted. Make sure you live in those moments and you get to experience some of these things, whether you're a fan or just watching from home as, you know, more of a casual fan on the broadcast. You know, appreciate the spring football we do get because it's very difficult to put this presentation on, and we appreciate the league for giving us the access. I wasn't sure if we would have Zook on the Boulevard tonight because I think he got promoted. As you guys saw in the video there, he was chatting with UFL hotshots and all the suits up there in the booth and learning all the production. And I'm thinking, man, I'm going to need to put up application on LinkedIn for a new producer soon. But no, appreciate Zook as always for being my extra set of eyeballs out there. And you know, he said at the end of that lengthy post-game recap, my arm's tired from holding the damn camera so long for you know. So it was a treat. And I'm glad we got to get him on camera a little bit in the production suite and on the field. So that was cool. A big thanks are in order to really everybody involved with the UFL communications department. Thought they did an excellent job with Media Day, yet again, making players and coaches available to us. And, you know, I've said before, the access that we get in this league as independent media is second to none. This is not something the NFL would let us do. This is not something we'd be able to do in college football or really any other major professional sport. And it's you know, it just the sense of gratitude that, you know, we get to sit front row in these press conferences and then share all that with you with really no restrictions. It's been amazing, you know, get to walk around, go wherever we want. We see Joe Buck, we see Tom Brady, The Rock last year. And, you know, it's like it's the little kid in you gets starstruck to be in those moments. And everyone always asks me, like, what's it like to be so close to Tom Brady? And it's like, it's tough because you get caught up in the moment of working. And I'm more worried about sharing that with you guys than I am taking it in for myself. So I hope you enjoyed some of that. It's always cool to see that. And like I said, a big thanks are in order to the UFL communications department. Want to shout out Brian Stahl, who many of you know as Stully, St. Louis legend, runs the Battlehawks communications department. What a fantastic host St. Louis was for this championship game. The hospitality that they provided, you know, chatting with a lot of the St. Louis staff, you know, everybody from the support staff to the communications people to security and just everybody in between was really cool to us and really good to us. So I want to shout out them, and then obviously the fans as well. You guys that I did get to meet. I know my DMs were flooded with people who wanted to say hi, and I tried to do a lap around the stadium and say hi to as many of you as I could. If you did make it in the tour video, go ahead and share that. It's always fun. It's all about the fans to get you guys in that. So thank you to you guys first and foremost. Okay, so that's our Battle of the Brands tour for 2024. We had 7 different games, I think six different cities that we got to, and it was just a treat. I want to thank everybody for that. All right, I did have a few thoughts before we get into our best bet results here, because this is a position that I'm in as the host of this show where my finest moments are captured and my lowest moments are also going to be captured, and it's part of the job. And as I said from the field after the game, I've been wrong before and I'll be wrong again. And sitting in those press conferences with Skip Holtz and Adrian Martinez and Chiava Tazzino, you just see the smiles on their faces and you're like, I can't hate on that, right? Like, a lot of the problems that we've had, especially online, have not been with the Birmingham Stallions players and coaches. It's been with the Twitter scumbags who are out in force the last few hours and overnight. So I'm going to reply all here. I haven't really said much other than my statement from the field. It starts and ends with this. The XFL won the season series, 9 games to 8, right? The championship does not count as 2 games. Birmingham is also not the only team in the USFL conference. The Birmingham Stallions also had a couple, I think all their touchdowns from Gary Jennings, who played in the XFL last year, and Adrian Martinez, who was not part of the Birmingham Stallions. Now, that's all credit in the world to Zach Potter. I think he probably deserved some sort of MVP award as GM of the Stallions at just 23 years old. Could talk about him all night, the things he's been able to do. But again, this is not an issue that I have with the players and coaches. It's the issue with the Twitter trolls coming after me. I would love to go back to all of your tweets and see if you thought Birmingham was going to win this game 25-0. Because the real life people that I talk to that don't hide behind Getty image photos and anime characters and screenshots of things as their Twitter avatars, the real life breathing human beings that I talk to in St. Louis, whether you were a Stallions diehard, you were a Brahmas diehard, if you were a Battlehawks fan showing up to take it all in, I saw Defenders fans, I saw casuals, we saw everybody from A to Z. No matter what reason you were there, everybody thought this was going to be a battle. This was going to be a close game, fight to the finish, 2 great defenses, playmakers on offense. And yes, the majority of people picked the Birmingham Stallions. Zook and I were wrong. We were not some of those people. But did anybody really think this was going to be a 25-0 game? Not in a million years. If any of you sit there and say, yeah, we knew the Stallions would dominate. We knew this would be the first shutout of the entire UFL season. No, you didn't. Birmingham even exceeded your expectations. You could be the biggest USFL disciple from day one when they kicked that damn league off in 2022, and not even you expected what happened. So that's my reply all to everybody. XFL wins the season series, but Birmingham gets the last laugh, and that was important because the rest of the USFL conference, maybe outside of Michigan, who did beat a couple of teams, did not live up to the expectations that you all set. So we'll get that out of the way, right? And as we transition into year 3 of this, these division rivalries are going to stay alive now because of this discourse happening and all this conversation happening and the Battle of the Brands tour. And it's been a polarizing thing, right? This is what fans love, right? To pick a side and clash and go out at each other. I will say this to end my rant. Twitter is not real life. So all the people that I met on the road in St. Louis, obviously the UFL championship is a gathering of fans, a gathering of media. You get to see all these people that you've really only interacted with over Twitter mentions or Twitter DMs. And I had so much respect for the people that I was able to meet that were on the USFL side. You saw the Birmingham fans. They were great to me. So thank you for that. Thank you for not getting mad at me that I didn't pick your team. Thank you for not being a toxic scumbag sitting in your mom's basement running your mouth about a team that you sat with your bag of chips on your couch watching, thinking you did something to contribute. I want to shout out the real fans who were there on the field with me after the game. Congratulations to you guys. I ate crow, right? I'm not always right. I'm never going to be 100%, and neither is anybody else. And I think the San Antonio Brahmas, frankly, laid an egg for their fan base, for anybody who had any expectations in them. But I'll say this to end it. If I shook your hand, if I met you in person, I'll show you the same respect that you show me. Twitter isn't real life. I don't get personal online, right? And it's a whole different world, right? This is a show. I play a character for you guys. Of course, I love the XFL since the day Vince McMahon announced it was coming back in 2018. I'm ride or die for this league. I got the hat on tonight. I'm not taking it off next year. This is my conference. This is the league I ride with, you know, from A to Z, whether it's the Battlehawks, the Defenders, or the frickin' Vegas Vipers, Seattle Sea Dragons if they ever come back, right? This is the XFL. Throw it up one more time for life. I'm not giving up after one loss, but credit is due for the Birmingham Stallions because they've been just as successful pre-merge as they are post-merge, which is a phenomenal accomplishment. All right, that's all I got concerning that. Now we have a game to talk about, and less, yeah.
Best bets first.
Okay, so best bet results here on the Boulevard. Not our best. It really shouldn't have been best bet. Maybe worst bet would be better as we welcome in Zook and TPG. Thank you for both listening to me rant. I had to get that off my chest, and I know you fellas both have some thoughts as well, and I'll give you the floor first because I don't know where to go with this segment considering we absolutely stunk this weekend.
All right, so I'm going to take over this conversation a little bit. Tonight, we're going to do a little Family Feud edition of Best Bets.
Oh, no.
So we have...
May I be excused?
So we have the Springball Boulevard family versus the Odds Makers family. Matt, could you please tell me your best bet?
San Antonio plus 3.5.
TPG.
Over 41.5.
San Antonio money line.
I got 2 hours of sleep last night. I didn't talk to Zook before the show. we pressed live, and we went right into this thing. Just pile it on. You know, here I thought this was going to be a nice, relaxing episode, considering my Twitter account right now is a dumpster fire. I come on the show, and I get the same treatment from my producer as I do from the folks on X right now.
Listen,
I can't win.
I gave myself the same.
What did the survey say?
We were wrong.
But credit is in line for the people's gambler who picked the Birmingham Stallions straight up. You saw him on the tour recap. I think he said horns down a dozen times. I think I could hear him from the press box yelling horns down. So we have to give him that. It wasn't a best bet. He didn't take Birmingham to cover. Speaking of betting, this live total right before the end of the second half, this was before Birmingham scored at the end of the half. This thing was 21.5. My God, in a championship game. I'm sitting there thinking, good thing I'm in Missouri because I might clean my savings account on 21.5, and I still would have been sweating at the end of the game. Let's bring the boys back in. We've been putting it off long enough, right? And we got to talk about this. I guess we'll start with Birmingham because, the pathetic performance and the pathetic showing from San Antonio could be an episode all in its own. Let's focus on Birmingham first. And while we focus on them, I'm going to go to TPG because I think the conclusion that I come out with is that you appreciated the dominance of the Birmingham Stallions a little more than both of us. And now that's not taken away from Zook, who picked them in the preseason to win the championship and sat here on the pilot episode and told me this is Birmingham's dynasty until proven otherwise. And I wasn't in on that. So you actually picked them, TPG. As things got going in the first couple of drives, were you a little worried about your straight pick? And then what did they do to reinstill confidence in you that they were winning this game?
Yeah, I don't think I was ever, worried at any point. Definitely a slow start to the game. I was sitting in the stands, and that first quarter, not a lot of action, and I'm, kind of taking in the whole venue, what's going on around me, not so much the game. And I kind of had to wake myself up at the start of the second, be like, hey, we still got 3 more quarters to play. Time to lock in. So the slow start, I think, definitely helped. Their defense was, lights out. San Antonio, pretty one-dimensional on offense. I know they had a couple runs that McFarland was breaking, but it seemed like all of the offensive production was trying to go through him. He had 10 targets, 11 carries, and I don't know, that Birmingham defense, they were just swarming to the ball. And yeah, I was a little worried at the beginning. I thought maybe, hey, this is the time to put Corral in, but Martinez comes out second half playing with some more confidence after getting that score right before, and he made the plays he needed to do to pull out the win.
I do want to bring up sort of the betting angle here shortly because it seemed like it was off limits for Fox. Maybe that was because Tom Brady was in the booth and, stuff like that's not going to be happening in the NFL season. So maybe they kept it off limits. Really heard no mention of it, but I did want to bring it up here how most of the public money was on Birmingham -3.5. I think DraftKings had them at like 70% of the money. Also, TPG, you had the over 41.5, and that was consensus. I tailed you. We had a lot of the experts coming out, whether they were writers or podcasters or even people in mainstream media saying that this game was going to go over. So I think the sports books made a killing when this game ended up 25-0. Do you see it that way? And when did you know that your over was cooked?
I kind of knew like right before halftime when Birmingham took that lead, that the over was pretty much dead. If you follow me on Twitter, I put out a little halftime update video, and pretty much said the over was dead right then and there. Because I was confident that, and we talked about this on the show on Thursday, that Birmingham's coaching staff is known for making awesome halftime adjustments. And they came out second half, and they've done what they did all season, figured out what they were doing wrong that first half, cleaned up those mistakes, and San Antonio just didn't have an answer for it.
Can we safely say now, TPG, that the whole discussion of Matt Corral heading into this week, where he comes in, finishes the USFL championship game, looks excellent, and then in media availability, Skip Holtz is talking about, third or fourth drive, we'll see. Can we chalk that up as a complete decoy, right? Because that seemed like it was never going to happen after the first 4 Birmingham drives resulted in punts, and Martinez was still out there.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't go with Corral. Because even, I watched back the broadcast earlier today when I got home, and Skip was still like really frustrated with Martinez for the majority of the game, even when they were up by 22 points. So, yeah, kind of strange that he decided not to go with him. And, this tension has been boiling, like we said, over the past couple of weeks. And, thankfully it didn't hit its tipping point in the championship game. But, I mean, for moving forward, I think Corral's the guy to go with.
Yeah, and you think about it in the post-game press conference as the 3 guys sit down, Skip Holtz says to the media, we're up here in order of importance. And it's Chiavazzino to the left, Martinez in the middle, and Holtz to the right. And he says, we're up here from order of importance from left to right. So he kind of buried Martinez again, right? Even though he won the MVP. So let's talk about that. Kind of leads us into a discussion about the defense. And Zook, we're going to get to you here in a minute. Save your thoughts for San Antonio, right? Because we have a lot to say, but I don't want to brush right over Birmingham, right? Because they deserve a lot of credit. TPG, let's talk about the defense, right? This is a defense that you highlighted in depth on Thursday's preview show. You talked about everybody from Carlos Davis, who had a massive PBU on a third down, sticking his big mid out there. You talked about the linebackers, DeMarcus Gates, Chiava Tazzino. You talked about all really 11 starters in depth on this team. Ike Brown, right? 2 picks in the USFL championship, comes out, makes another huge play. And they were banged up at times. I think they had 2 injuries in the secondary right away. I think Ism got hurt and then came right back in. And then somebody else, Robinson came off for a little bit as well. I think both those guys were able to come back in and finish the game, so credit to them. But what the hell was this? Because we haven't seen this out of the Birmingham defense since John Chavis left. I mean, they were giving up 300 yards to Houston. They were making Danny Etling look like Tom Brady out there. And then last week, they come through, they get some turnovers late, but they were still down in the first half of the USFL championship. I mean, they dominated.
Yeah, I think the defense had some really good bulletin board material coming into this game. A lot of people were saying, San Antonio '1 offense, San Antonio #1 defense. Yep. But, they kind of put that to rest. San Antonio, they played great on defensively down the stretch? Yes. But what's Birmingham's bread and butter is stopping the run. And Birmingham's front 4 was better than San Antonio's front 5. And when watching the game back, you saw a lot of too high safety looks out of Birmingham. And that's how St. Louis got gashed, right? Every time they had 2 high safeties, San Antonio was just breaking up big chunk runs right up the middle. But, Birmingham was able to give them those 2 high looks, take away the pass, and their D-line was awesome that, they were able to generate a pass rush without even bringing any of the backers. So kudos to those guys. They made it a tough day on AJ Smith, and, they showed up when it mattered.
Yeah, and although they only had 2 sacks, they completely deleted the receivers. Mm-hmm. The receivers for San Antonio didn't exist in this game. Jontre Kirkland, 2 fumbles. One of them turned over. He had a huge drop that would have put them inside the 20 that he has to hang on to as a top receiver. Marquez Stevenson maybe had a couple of big plays, but for the most part, he was a non-factor. Justin Smith, a complete no-show. And I must add, the most surprising thing of this game, even more so than the shutout, John Lovett. John Lovett got the ball 18 times against St. Louis for 81 yards. He has clearly been the power back. They want to run the ball with him, and with McFarland's more of the receiving threat. TPG, John Lovett, 1 carry for 2 yards.
So do you have any info? Did he get hurt? Because
I don't think so.
Out there. He was out there that first drive of the game, and he was never out there again.
That's when he got the carry. And it's almost like, okay, so we played 5 drives of scoreless football, right? He only got 1 carry on those 5 series. And then, we had the strike 1, 8-0. Strike 2, 16-0. Right after half, bam, strike 3, 22-0 all of a sudden. Now you got to throw it, right? So John Lovett's not coming back in. We don't have confirmation if he was hurt or not, but I was shocked that a player who at midseason was being considered all UFL, was being considered, I think he had the most rushing yards in a single game at DC this season, where he had 30 carries for 150 yards. I mean, a no-show. And whether that's AJ Smith's fault, whether they wanted to do more dynamic stuff with McFarland, they didn't use probably one of their best players, and that's credit to Corey Chamberlain and that defense.
Yeah, they were really trying to get McFarland the ball. Like I said earlier, 11 carries and 10 targets. Yeah. And then I think John Trey had 7, and then Calvin Turner, a guy we haven't talked much about at all this year. 6 targets. So definitely they needed to get Justin Smith more involved, get Speedy Stevenson more involved, but they just had horrible communication issues. They start off the game, they have to burn 2 timeouts in the first 5 minutes of game time. And we saw this last week too, getting the play call in late, and it seemed like almost the moment was too big for Garbers. A lot of boneheaded decisions, sliding short of the first down marker, stepping out before. He just never seemed like he was ever in sync. And Brady even mentioned this on the broadcast too. He just wasn't pushing the ball downfield. Finally, when they put in Dormady at the end, they were able to get a little bit more momentum with him. And maybe, who knows how that game goes if Dormady gets the nod earlier. But yeah, Garbers didn't really do a great job of pushing the ball down a field and making his arm a threat to that Stallions defense.
Yeah, a lot of criticism is due for San Antonio. We're going to let Chris Zook handle a lot of that. I want to ask one more question on the Birmingham side, and maybe more of a sentiment than a question. I think the most telling moment of the game for me was the T formation, 3rd and goal on the 1. And you're stuffed with Ricky Person. Now you're up 16-0. You got 4th and goal. And Zook says to me, there's no reason to kick a field goal here, because even if you get stuffed again, you put San Antonio at the 1-yard line, and at this point, you're probably going to get a safety or you're going to score, right, on defense, because San Antonio couldn't get to midfield, regardless, go 99 yards. So that seemed to me like a situation where a Memphis, a Houston, any of the bottom tier teams would have kicked the field goal against San Antonio, right? Skip went for it, and it worked. Did you agree with that 4th and 1 decision, and do you kind of see where we're coming from, that even if you don't get that, you got San Antonio backed up where you want them?
Yeah, I completely agree with that decision. You're in a chance to put this game 3 scores completely out of hand. So, yeah, it was pretty close. On that second look, Martinez did get in, but just barely.
Yeah, they didn't call it in at first. They had to look at it.
Yeah, they didn't call it at first. Everyone thought it was a stop for San Antonio, which would have been huge for them. But yeah, I completely agree with that decision, because even if you don't get it, like you said, you put your defense in a good position to make a play, get a safety, get a defensive score.
Yeah, and even if Garbers goes out, it's going to be a nightmare if you get to a punt, right? Because then you're punting from your goalpost. And it just you were getting dominated in the trenches at all 3 levels. So that's the Birmingham side of it. We talked about the coaching matchup a lot, and yeah, Birmingham outcoached San Antonio at every level. So let's bring in Chris Zook now, because we've talked a lot about this, Zook, whether it was the shuttle bus from the hotel or the flight home, or even sitting in the dome and having conversation throughout. What the hell was that from San Antonio? Is there a collective finger that you point at the whole organization, or do you pick out specific things where you think maybe some areas deserve more blame than others?
Yeah, so I'm not blaming the defense at all. We say constantly, and what we're calling the middle 8. Birmingham they just always do it. They're dominant in those minutes. They got one before half. They got one coming out. The killer for San Antonio is that Kirkland fumbled the ball and gave it to him,
First play of the second half.
No, it wasn't the first play.
Well, it was the first play for their offense.
Yeah.
Right.
So they give him the ball back somewhere around the
25 or 30. Yeah.
Somewhere in between the 20 and 30, right? And that's what killed them.
Right.
The defense did their job. They just were on the field way too much. And I said that they could score, as long as San Antonio would score 25 offensively, they could win this game. I never thought in this world that they would score 0. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Birmingham 4 of 11 on 3rd down, and they could not convert a 3rd down in the first couple quarters of the game until they got going at the end of the half.
That offense was too dink and dunk.
San Antonio's, yeah.
I was saying it to you all game. I was like, you have to stretch the field. I didn't know that Tom Brady was saying what I was saying at the same time.
Great
right?
minds think alike, right?
But yeah, something like that. But I was yelling. I wasn't yelling in the press box, but I was yelling at you.
No credential violation.
What are they doing? They're just not stretching the field. They're going sideline to sideline. And Birmingham did defensively what San Antonio did to everybody else. They just sped sideline, tackle, great tackling. They deserve
amazing tackling. Man coverage. Just I think about even the hit on Jontre Kirkland early on. It was a conversion, but it made a statement because it was such a big hit. And I think about the one with Damon Lloyd, the linebacker, 1-on-1 against Alize Mack. Right after Garber slid short, they still had a chance to convert there. Damon Lloyd just lights him up. We had Ike Brown, one of the corners, come up and just pace somebody. And they're trying these bubble screens, and they just didn't work. You know, the one time Garbers threw a dart to Kirkland along the sideline and did try to extend, and he dropped it.
Right.
And it seemed like Chase Garbers wasn't very interested in throwing the ball to anybody else besides Jontre Kirkland, which may have been a problem. And the Stallions didn't have to face Cody Latimer, and that was huge.
That is huge. But is that a scheme thing? Like, I'd love to know what they were seeing defensively, that they weren't trying to stretch the field and they were just trying to get everything outside to their. And I get it. You want to get the ball to your playmakers and let them get the yards after catch and do all that. But it wasn't working, and they just never made an adjustment.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
And Cody Latimer is that middle of the field guy, right? He owns the middle of the field, and we saw it in the Week 9 matchup. And I just don't think the receivers were open. I think A.J. Smith was trying to dial up that kind of stuff, and what it ended up being is Garber's going through his reads, not wanting to throw a pick, which he didn't throw a pick. You got to give him that. But it was just, okay, I got to check down to McFarland and let him run with it.
But he also didn't want to get hurt.
All right, I'm glad you brought this up. Let's bring in the three of us for this. You start, Zook, because you're referencing a couple of moments.
Twice.
Right. There's a 3rd and 1 back against the wall in the second half. I think they're down 22-0 at that point. You have to score on that drive. You get a 3rd and 1. It's an RPO. So you see Garbers fake to McFarland, who turns around and looks at Garbers like this, as like, why didn't you give me the ball? That was even before he slid.
Right.
And then he slid short of the sticks, and McFarland lost his mind.
Right.
And they had to run a play after that. What did you see from that play, and what happened?
I would hate to accuse a guy of not trying to win a championship for an NFL chance. But it happened twice. Guys were coming in. I mean, trust me, if I'm running the ball there, I'm getting out too. I'm sliding. But I don't know. I don't want to accuse anybody of anything, but it did not look good. And if you're trying to get an NFL shot, this is your damn chance. Show them in that moment you're going to get the first down. Because if not, you're trying to save your stock, but you just hurt it. I don't know.
Right. So let's set this up for TPG. We had the slide short on 3rd and 1. McFarland's pissed. Now you got to call a play. Right? I guess McFarland thought maybe he could have broke off a huge run if the read went to him there. Now you got to run a play. They dial up some BS. I mean, it looked ugly. Alize Mack had no chance against the linebacker. And then they go to the sideline. And I assume, TPG, you've watched this moment back, because being like at the game, this was tough to see. I think you were on the Birmingham sideline.
Yeah, I was on the other sideline.
Having
so
to look across, too many bodies. But you see this on TV. Anthony McFarland gets in Chase Garber's face immediately on the sideline, to the point where 2 coaches have to pull him away. He goes to the other end of the bench. They walk away, and there he comes right back over. And A.J. Smith's sitting there with Garbers and the other quarterbacks, and McFarland is just chirping. We don't know what he said, but it was not good. And I asked Chase about this after the game, and he said it's part of football, and guys get heated, and then Coach Phillips interjected and kind of protected his players, right, and said, this is something you see all the time in football. I guarantee you my guys love each other more than anybody in the league, right? He gave the coach speak answer. I guess we'll never really know what was said unless we talk to somebody. Was that it? I mean, when that happened, you're thinking all the confidence, the little iota of confidence that Chase Garbers had, you're sitting there on the bench getting yelled at by your teammates. I mean, his day was over, literally and figuratively at that point.
Yeah, and I don't think it was just McFarland that was mad. You rewatch that play after Garber slides, you see linemen throwing up their hands, and even Brock Heward, he made a comment on the broadcast saying, like, I've never heard a team as a collective whole, react to something like that. So, yeah, it definitely took all the just got rid of all the good momentum that they were trying to build. Wow. And it was just a really deflating moment for this Brahmas team.
I will respond to Chris Zook and say this. I don't buy any of the conspiracy theories. I think that what happened is, if you look earlier in the game, that the second one that Zook references, Chase Garbers had a 3rd and 2 and did the same thing, but it worked because he got a toe over the line. And I think that since that worked out for him, he thought he was going to do the same thing again, right? You're a football player. You're going to try to do what works. And he completely misjudged the sticks. So I don't think this has anything to do with Chase Garbers.
You think he misjudged the sticks?
Absolutely. No, listen, Chase Garbers had a chance to win an MVP award in front of Tom Brady. Do you really think he was going to go out there and throw the game? Like, there's just no
I'm not
chance.
saying he's throwing it.
Yeah, I kind of reject any of that sort of talk about Garbers. I mean, he is...
I don't want to believe it either.
Yeah.
I'm just asking the question.
Right, no, I mean, it's been talked about, right?
Right.
There's all kind of chatter about it online, and, people saying, did he make a business decision? A lot of this is just clickbait BS. I asked Chase after the game about it, gave him a chance to talk about it, and that's what he said. He said he was wrong. He misjudged it. He didn't know where he was sliding. He had one earlier and he didn't get that one. We didn't know what Anthony McFarland or any of the other players at TPG was like. Some of the linemen had said to him at that point, but that was it for him.
Well, we're still on this. I do want to shout out Nick Hand, and he tweeted at us. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, he made a.
Do you think that? Yeah, he made the replacements.
Yeah.
So, but do you think that's part of it? And what he's getting at is, does Dormady control that offense better? Is he more liked?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah,
but it's interesting to think about.
Yeah, I think by the time Quentin Dormady comes in, Birmingham's defense is just like, okay, cool. And at that point, what else happened? John Trey Kirkland took a seat. Justin Smith took a seat.
That's not what I'm getting at, though.
Yeah.
The point of the reference that he's making to me is that when Martell comes back in the replacements, he's that cocky, egotistical guy that's like, I'm the man, I'm the quarterback. You go catch the ball, do your job. But he has no command or respect from the rest of his teams. That's the reference he's making. Is there any truth to that? I don't think so.
I mean, yeah, I take the you're right. I get what you're saying. And like you could ask, would the Brahmas have been in a better position with Quentin Dormady as a starting quarterback today or yesterday? Absolutely not.
Right.
No.
TPG, care to weigh in?
No, I don't think so either. Garbers got him to this game. Garbers knocked off Birmingham earlier in the year. So, yeah, I think he was the right decision to go with for the start, no brainer, but maybe they should have pulled him a little earlier just when, things were getting out of hand, 16-0. Maybe that's the time to put in Dormady, because I will say Dormady, he's not afraid to sling the pill. He'll push the ball downfield. You don't have to worry about that. And maybe that's the momentum they needed to just get a spark on the offensive side of the ball.
But you also thought that Corral should have came in early too.
Yeah, I would have loved to see Matt Corral in this game as well. Yeah,
devil's
Martinez,
advocate,
Well, we've disagreed on a few things. What we can all agree on is San Antonio was not the team we expected to be playing two quarterbacks.
That's true.
Like, if you went in with that and said, which team will play two quarterbacks? I think San Antonio would have been about plus 10,000, where Birmingham, it was a lock that Corral was going to see the field. And like, it just goes into all the things of this game that were completely wrong in our predictions, right? I mean, and not just us, but many others who play this game and make picks and make predictions and all that. I was just in complete shock. We play 42 games, and this is the shutout. So where does that leave us with the Birmingham Stallions? Because I feel like this is now a dynasty cemented. I had little faith for them to do this post-merge. We heard all the talk about everybody else getting better. Well, guess what? The Stallions were the best. Yeah, everybody got better. They were still the best. So now, Skip Holtz, says this is his favorite job he's ever had. What is it? Do they just care more? Is it talent? Is it a philosophy? Is it a culture? What do you guys point to as how this thing could possibly work out pre and post merge? And now going to go into a fourth year, probably at minus 200 to win the whole thing again. What is it that has worked so well? Is it a commitment? Is it a philosophy? Or is it just talent for this organization?
I'll jump in first on this one. I don't get too and I said it at the beginning of the year, they're the cream of the crop. You have to beat the best to be the best. That hasn't happened. I'm not disrespecting Birmingham any other way, but I'm not buying stock in the three-peat because there's not a three-peat in this league. That's a two-time champion USFL, and that's it. You're a one-time champion UFL, and that's, to me, that's all I care about. You can say anything you want, and I'm not saying the team isn't talented. They deserved every championship they got. But to me, they're a one-time champion, and we'll see what happens next year.
So it sounds like you aren't ready to say dynasty quite
no,
yet.
When I hear dynasty, that really upsets me because you're not doing it consistently through a league. This is over 2 leagues now. 2 different things.
TPG, I'm going to guess you disagree here.
Yeah, I disagree. Well, it's no fluke that, they've established this winning culture, right? And Zach Potter, he's done a great job of evaluating talent, and I think he's been the best at his job out of all general managers in the league. Over his 3 years there, they've been able to attract a lot of big names. You look at Taco Charlton, who was on the team this year. They got Matt Corral, another big-name college football player, year 1 USFL. They got Bo Scarborough. So they've done a great job of, evaluating talent, and they've really sold themselves to players that are looking to play in this league like, hey, you come play for us, you're going to win a championship.
Yeah, I'm in shock and I think it's the Matt Corral effect. How the hell does Zach Potter get Matt Corral to sign when there's that level of competition between both Martinez and Jamar Smith? When Matt Corral's looking around and has probably an offer from every other team in the UFL, right? As soon as he announced and his agent announced intent to play spring football, he could probably have gone anywhere that he wanted. So how does Zach Potter get these guys when Matt Corral could have just gone to Houston or Memphis or pick your poison and started all year? How does he do it, TPG?
The kid's just a grinder. He's relentless, very good at his job. And, you could tell he's very committed to what he's doing. He, definitely has NFL aspirations. And Skip Holtz, he put his trust into this young 23, 24-year-old kid, and he's done nothing but a great job.
Yeah, and there is a core on this team, right? Correct me if I'm missing any here, TPG. CJ Marable, right? 3 straight titles. Marlon Williams, right? Another guy who's back-to-back-to-back. Was Sternberger there all 3 years, or is he just the last 2?
Not year 1.
Last
year
2.
Two he
okay.
was, yeah.
Some of the offensive linemen, right? And then defensively, Dondre Tillman, right? 3 times. JoJo Tillery, another one. And I guess you could say Gates, right? Because he was sort of part of each team. Yeah.
Yeah, Gates was there year 1. He
Right.
was with the Bears the past 2 years in the NFL, so he wasn't on the Stallions year 2, but they brought him back this year.
And it's crazy because I list a lot of these guys, and they weren't really starters. Like, they were maybe sort of pushed down on the depth chart with I guess Tillman was probably the anchor on the defensive line, but like CJ Marable was a guy who kind of backed up Ricky Person for a lot of the year, especially mid-season as Person kind of broke out, and Marlon Williams at times took a back seat to guys like Deion Kane and Kevin Austin. But he was always in the mix, and yeah, it's insane looking at the roster and all this new talent. Again, it's wild to me that we sit in a post-game press conference and Chiava Tizzino's up there saying, man, this is my first championship. Y'all don't know how I feel right now. This is different for me, right? And then you had the other side of it where guys were celebrating getting 3 rings. I know Marlon Williams came out and said, man, I really got 3 rings. It's surreal. So I don't see this stopping anytime soon as far as talent acquisition. I think Skip Holtz has now made the ultimate sales pitch to the top-tier spring football prospects. I don't care about the draft. Memphis and Houston could have their little toilet bowl to pick somebody's rights out of the college draft. Those aren't the guys that you're going after anyway, right? Because that's just a rookie college draft. The real guys that you're going after are the Matt Corrals, who have been in the NFL and kind of phased out, right? That's the talent you're looking for. The Anthony McFarlands, right? The Matt Corrals, the Adrian Martinez, the Amari Rogers, right? Those are the kind of, and I just don't see a point where other teams and other GMs are able to sign guys that are better than what Birmingham's putting together. And I don't know if you agree with that, TPG, or is there going to be no parity in this league because Birmingham is just going to develop into this powerhouse?
You know, you hope to see some parity moving forward, but let's see next year if Birmingham's able to, continue this success. It'll be something that, no professional sports league has ever seen. But yeah, I fully acknowledge the three-peat. Kudos to those guys. They did an awesome time. Shout out to Marcus Gates, former Bear, came by, said, hey, hi to me at the end of the game, got to take a selfie, congratulated him on a great season. But yeah, gotta love these Stallions this year.
Yeah, for a guy who was hurt a lot throughout the year, battled back through several injuries, and ultimately wins a championship. Question for both of you. Go ahead, Zoe.
I want to cut you off. So what you're saying basically to me is that free agency for Birmingham is like Alabama recruiting.
Absolutely. That's a great analogy.
I just that's what I heard, and you're probably not wrong.
Right. Because it seems to me like, if you watch Jarrett Garantano or Case Cookus and you're a quarterback, I'm not playing for Memphis or Houston. I'm getting killed. I don't care if I'm Johnny Manziel and I could scramble with the best of them. I'm going to get killed. It's not that Case Cookus and Jarrett Garantano were terrible quarterbacks. They've both been good in their career. It's they had no protection. Where you got Birmingham giving up no sacks in a championship game. And protecting their quarterback, think they gave up the least amount of sacks all season. So, yeah, if I'm top talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball, why would I want to go play for anybody else when I could just sign up and ride my way to an NFL offer? Now, there's going to be some turnover, of course. I did have one more question for both of you before we kind of close this discussion out. We've talked about the game again. Not much to talk about as far as what happened with the X's and O's because it was such a dominant performance and there wasn't a back and forth scoring affair. So obviously we're defaulting to a lot of this big picture talk, but it's important because I want to ask both of you. There were St. Louis Battlehawks fans, including yourself, TPG, in attendance at the Dome who booed the Stallions a lot. There was a louder eruption for Chris Garrett announced as Special Teams Player of the Year during the game, and Hakeem Butler, that Offensive Player of the Year, that was the biggest pop we got, right, all day. And then a moment in the post-game ceremony where there was some loud boos being showered down. Is that resentment that if the St. Louis Battlehawks have a healthy A.J. McCarron, Carlos Davis doesn't hurt his ankle, keep him out for a couple games, and then take him really out of the picture to the point where at near halftime of a XFL conference championship game, he's saying, I feel like shit. Is that resentment from your fan base about what could have been and seeing San Antonio embarrass themselves on this national stage knowing what you and your team could have done in this moment?
Yeah, definitely a lot of resentment, but, we could play this what-if game all day. I want to move past it. Simply, St. Louis just didn't show up to play last week against San Antonio, and they got their butts whooped. It was, though, very disheartening to see that the Brahmas just put up very little of a fight because you always think, like, hey, this could have been a great Sunday night. We could have had a jam-packed Battle Dome. Battlehawks in the championship could have been the first championship that
Rematch,
football championship, that St. Louis has brought to that city in quite some time. So yeah, it was definitely, it had all the makings to be a really good evening. I still had a great time at the game. Like you said, it's awesome to see fans from each team, but yeah, definitely a lot of resentment from myself, Battlehawks fans, feeling like our team should have been there and that we could have put up a little bit better of a fight than what we saw.
And when I think of going to Uzuk, this team in San Antonio, it was setting up like the Eagles Super Bowl that they won.
Yep.
Because you had a team playing against Minnesota who would have had a chance to host the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Right? They delete the whole storyline. They literally destroy and crush the dreams of all Vikings players, coaches, staff, fans. And then they have a chance to knock off the dynasty.
Yeah.
Right? But the difference is the Eagles did it.
Right.
San Antonio fell apart.
I'm glad TPG responded the way you did. Because you know what? That's the number one thing. You could talk about what ifs all you want, but you didn't. So what are you even crying about? Like, you had your chance. You could have been there, and you could talk about injuries. I mean, that's football.
Yeah, I mean, it just so happened that St. Louis suffered the most significant one all season, and that's no excuse. But
I will say, though, we can all agree that if St. Louis would have won, it would have been really good for the league.
Yeah.
But
do we want to touch on this 27,000?
I do.
Well, you take it away then.
I was there. There was no 27,000. Again, all the haters out there, you can say whatever you want, but it does go by ticket sales. And people like TPG bought his tickets thinking his team was going to be there at home, and they bought a ton of them, right?
Yeah, and we bought 4.
And
right when they came out.
I'm just saying in general, like, you bought your tickets, and so did every other Battlehawk fan, and that could have been a crazy atmosphere. And there wasn't there. There wasn't that many there. Like, if it was over 15, I would be really surprised.
Yeah.
And
shout out to our guy James Baker, who we saw.
Ticket sales are ticket sales,
yeah,
right?
In the pregame. Does not work for UFL ticketing, but probably should. He was out on the streets,
handing them
giving
out,
tickets away. I think he said he gave up to 18 away.
But also,
great job for James.
Credit to the Battlehawk fans that gave them to him so he could do it.
Yeah,
because he didn't buy them, but he got them to donate them to him so people can experience it.
Right.
That was pretty cool.
I think the most disappointing thing for me wasn't attendance. It was probably the harsh reality that we're going to face tomorrow when TV ratings drop. If you're a casual and you saw all the hype on ESPN and Fox that was produced specifically for this game, I thought both networks did a great job at hyping this matchup up on network TV, on all their social media channels. There was talk about it on SportsCenter before the game. Obviously, just a lot more coverage. And the UFL had a chance here as kind of a standalone major championship game because you didn't have to compete with the Stanley Cup Finals or the NBA Finals last night, which throughout the year, many times they have had to go right up against these massive properties. And really all they're going up against last night was NASCAR. So I think it's going to be a little disappointing, and I hate to be negative, but if I'm a casual, and we all started as casuals, right? We were all there once, and we all fell in love with spring football for different reasons, but if this was the turning point for you, whether, okay, I'm going to turn this game on, I'm hanging out with Dad on Father's Day, we're going to kick back, watch the game. If this was what you got, I don't think it sold you on spring football. I don't think two teams that had to go through hell to get to midfield for an entire half of football, I don't think that Tom Brady being there alone, I don't think that the interest from a national stage of this Birmingham dynasty is really enough to get you to commit. But I'll say this. We've made this sales pitch really all year. This championship game was not indicative of the rest of this UFL season. Countless times we saw fantastic finishes. We saw electric 4th and 12s, that 10-point, 20-point comebacks. We saw more game-winning field goals than you could have ever imagined in any other league. We saw coaches literally under the most stressful situations to make the right call in a big pressure moment. We saw big hits. We saw high-flying offense. This was a great season, and the product that they put on the field from a talent perspective was second to none. We have never seen this sort of talent. I mean, maybe XFL 2020 could stand up to the talent level that we got this year, but certainly both iterations of USFL and last year's XFL couldn't shake a stick at the season and the talent that we had in the first 42 games. It just kind of flopped in the championship. And, you know, Mike Mitchell had DM'd me during the game and said, it's funny that Brady's here because this reminds me of the Patriots and Rams Super Bowl 13-3 when we all fell asleep at halftime and thought, what are we watching right now? And the only thing that was interesting is the dynasty, the dominance. Here we go again, right? But the fact is, people hate that. And the Stallions have embraced it, TPG. You see their social media posts after the game. What do they say? I would hate us too. So are they the spring football Patriots? Or like, is this a team that, is this Duke? You know, is this the Yankees? Is this UConn, right? Is this now going to set up as the Stallions against the world for you?
Oh, definitely. I definitely think. So after the game, wanted to get some, UFL championship merch. Saw people walking around the field with some, cool t-shirts with just like that midfield logo on it. So hit up the shop after the game, and really they didn't have much. They had like a really cheap black golf hat with just the logo slapped on it. So no, I wasn't buying that. They had the quarter zip thing, quarter zip with the logo on the side. That was $100. I already spent $100 on the ticket. So no, I wasn't paying that. But on my way out, something did catch my eye, and I thought, why not get a piece of history? So picked myself up a little Birmingham Stallions helmet.
Oh, kiss my ass.
I'm sure you two love that.
Kiss my ass. I don't know this guy. He just piles on in the worst moment. No, I think that, I just hope it's a good number. Do we want to make a prediction for the rating? Because it probably could have had a chance to be 2 million.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
What was the championship, like 1.7?
Overall, right? Overall, I'll go 1.5.
Yeah, I'd be around that range. I'd say probably like anywhere 1.34.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say.
Damn, I just wish we had a better pitch to casuals. I really do. If this was the only game you watched of the UFL season, I hope there was something.
Keep watching.
I hope
is what I'll say.
Whether it was Wade Phillips spiking his headset, or maybe you want to watch because you get to hear all this in-game communication and it fascinates you, right? Maybe that's the reason you stick around. But yeah, go back and watch the rest of the season if you're a casual trying to decide, because it was not 25-0. In fact, first time ever the whole year that a team didn't score, which is just unfathomable to me. So the UFL. Official UFL PR Twitter account has announced the following transactions. The following players have had their contract terminated, which means they are headed to the NFL. Congratulations. We don't know teams yet. Congratulations to Arlington's defensive tackle, Jalen Redmond. DC's offensive lineman, Liam Fornadell. Well-deserved there. Memphis wide receiver, Daywood Davis, headed to the league. Michigan kicker, Jake Bates. Of course, we'd heard of him with the Lions. St. Louis offensive lineman Jared Jones-Smith, two-time All-UFL selection, headed back to the league. And how about this one, TPG? St. Louis running back Jacob Sailors headed back to the NFL with his contract in the UFL terminated. Talking to Stully after the game, And I think I would have put my money on Butler, but it's Sailors to the NFL.
Yeah, Sailors was awesome down the stretch this year. Small school guy coming into the league, didn't know a whole lot about him, but, really happy for a guy that, sees success in the UFL and hopefully, can translate that to the NFL. So best of luck to Jacob Sailors. But, if you're going to come back to St. Louis, I won't be too opposed to that either.
Oh, it just came in here. You're not going to believe it. Chicago Bears. I mean,
really?
Nope. Just kidding.
Oh, come on.
We'll find out tomorrow where a lot of these players will go. We get 2 Battlehawks and then 4 different teams represented with Michigan, Memphis, D.C., and Arlington all getting players to the NFL. That's really cool, and we'll keep our eye on that. Wanted to give a big shout-out to those guys as the first batch of UFL players headed to the NFL. This is always the most difficult part for me, which is to sign us off. Another season of Springball Boulevard. This was so much fun. We came to you with a Survivor-style trailer in March where we voted Zook and his Seattle Sea Dragons out of the XFL.
We'll be back.
Yeah, I just think back to that and everybody who watched that trailer, us announcing we were back for season 2 and enjoyed that. I want to shout out the cast of that, first of all, from the very beginning. I want to shout out JT Hablett, Cody Brickle, Dane Boyer, and Steve Smith for getting us traction to everybody knowing that we were coming back for season 2 for playing each one of those teams in the XFL. And then, of course, everybody in the crew who helped out that night when we shot that commercial. And then we had TPG come along. I have to give a big shout out to the People's Gambler who reached out on a whim and pitched me a idea that we were not sold on at first and then became a staple of the show early on with his weekly DFS segments of Start, Sit, and Sleep. It's not about the results, right? It's about the ride. I think that's what we all learned this season. And TPG, I can't thank you enough, man, for being a contributor to Springball Boulevard. Got to go and have his first chance to cover a game at St. Louis when they hosted Houston. And I just saw his eyes light up, coming into the Dome. This is a guy who truly cares about spring football and advancing the sport just as much as we do. And as a former football player himself, he understands, I think more than even Zook and I do, what this means to these players and a lot of guys that he had played with and that, he played with in high school that, just needed a shot. And that's what it's all about and the appeal for spring football. And I have to give a shout out to him as well for coming live to Studio Z and doing all those shows with us during playoff week. That was awesome. We had some of the best shows we had ever produced. Of course, I got to thank the most valuable producer, Chris Zook, who really keeps me sane during the season. There are many times when I'm on the road and I have late nights with no sleep and I'm coming back to do a Sunday show. And I think Zook is a pain in my ass a lot of the time, but he keeps me motivated to keep going. And that's what I need because we're two different styles here on the Boulevard. And I need that. I need that push over the ledge to motivate me. And that's what he does. And he keeps the train on the tracks here. And just an honor to be able to go to our second straight championship game together and take it all in, from the pregame atmosphere to the travel to and from the game to meeting a lot of you and getting to introduce Zook to a lot of these different people that we meet is really cool. And I just love when we get to go on the road together. I want to thank everybody from the UFL, all the way from ownership and Redbird Capital and Fox and executives like Danny Garcia, like Russ Brandon, Doug Whaley, Daryl Johnston, everybody that makes this league possible from the very top of things. I want to thank everybody from ESPN, from the lead play-by-play crews like Mike Monaco, Sam Acho, Tom Luganbill, Stormy Bonantoni, everybody over there, Cole Kublik, Eric McLean, as well as people at Fox, Joel Klatt, Kurt Menefee. Great job on the call yesterday. And obviously all the production crew and everything that goes behind the scenes to present those broadcasts to us. And then everybody in the mid-level, all the UFL social media people, I think they continue to do an amazing job. They've really upped the bar from last year of impressions and everything that they've been able to create for this league. Have to thank all the marketing and ticket people as well. Shout out to Corey Helvey. He was a guy we got to meet on the road a few times, manages the ticket department for Birmingham and Memphis. Hell of a job, back-to-back years for him, and he's going to get a ring with the Stallions after suffering through seasons with the Tampa Bay Vipers and Orlando Guardians. So shout out to Corey. And then, of course, I've said it before, the wonderful folks at the UFL communications department. I want to thank Jeff Altstatter for setting us up with a ton of interviews and getting us credentialed for games. I also have to thank Bianca Gomez and Brian Stahl as well as everybody else from Sage Salmons to DeAndre Phillips and Andy Seeley in Memphis. And everywhere we went, we were treated with respect. And everywhere we went, we had a great time on the Battle of the Brands tour. And of course, the last people to thank are you, the listener and the viewer. We took a step forward in Springball Boulevard from season 1 to season 2. And, maybe we weren't as welcoming as some of the USFL fans would have liked us to be, but I like to think that maybe that's why you watched, because you got to dance in our grave when we were wrong, ultimately at the end of the year. So if you were a Birmingham fan, Memphis, Houston Gambler, or a Michigan Panther fan coming into this wondering, who the hell are these guys? I appreciate anybody that was a new listener or a new viewer. And then, of course, the core of the show is the diehard fans who have been here with us since day one, that continue to watch us live and continue to watch us grow from us, doing shows twice a week to now getting out and doing a show right after the games on Sunday, being able to do a highlight presentation. And we hope that you enjoyed kind of the transition we made from just doing recaps to now really amping up the production and giving you guys a full highlight show as well. UFL fans are really one of a kind. And if you care enough to watch UFL content, you are going to be somebody who in 10 years, when you look back, say, man, now everybody's watching shows like this and everybody's reading blogs and everybody's on Twitter or social media talking about the UFL. I think it's really going to get to that point someday, and it'll be cool that you got to be a day one riding along with Springball Boulevard for the first 2 seasons and watching us lose money and bets and hanging with us for all the shenanigans and all the craziness that goes on throughout the course of our week. So I always say, when I open the shows and when I close the shows, that there's really no such thing as football season. And when football goes away, I get emotional because I love this game. I love this sport. I really never got a chance to play it much, but just to be around it and to tell the stories of the players and coaches, especially in spring football, who do participate and do play it, is a dream come true for me. And I think I could speak for Chris Zook and the People's Gambler as well, saying that this is never a situation that we pictured ourselves being in, to watch things like this unfold in front of our eyes and then get to the privilege of sharing them with you. This is a labor of love for us. This is not, we're in Studio Z here, right? We're not in downtown Los Angeles putting on this show for you. We love the UFL just as much as you guys do. And if I could do a show twice a week for the entire year, I would, but I'd probably end up in the hospital. I think that I got to take a little bit of a break, track some of these NFL signings. As always, you can follow along with me at Matty Fresh TV. Follow Zook on Twitter. Maybe he'll get a little more active in the offseason talking about, will the Sea Dragons come back in 2027? Follow him at ZHop Production. Then, of course, the newest member of our crew at Peoples_Gambler. Going to be awesome to have him embrace more of a full-time role next year as we talk about things going forward. But for now, that'll do it for season 2 of Springball Boulevard. Thank you for tuning in to our season finale. And you always remember, there is no such thing as football season. We'll see you next year from Studio Z.